So let's talk about the best team in the league. I'm talking about the Clippers. Facts. Now, I know that a lot of people are not going to like that, but honestly, in recent times, the Clippers have been the best team in the league. That is no understatement. That is no lie. Honestly, when we look at the Clippers, they've been a great team, and recently we've been able to see them be more and more in tune with their system due to the fact that they've changed the way that they play. The first and the most important thing that they've done is that they've let James Harden have complete control over the offense, and with the clause that he does not take too many shots. Basically, his whole point has become play make for others and create your own shot, but always make the best decision. And this has led James Harden to absolutely go crazy. He's shooting like 40% from three. He has a complete repertoire, and every single night he does some crazy stuff, right? That has been extremely clutch with the ball in his hands. Apart from all of this, I do want to say that it's been a lot of time since we've seen this level of basketball being played, by a team. Those guys are winning almost every game. They're really overachieving, and I think in their last 20, they've won like 16, or it was some crazy stat like that. They've been one of the best teams in the league. I do believe that there is a clear way and a clear reason due to this. And apart from James Harden, it's also because of Kawhi and Paul George. I feel like the Clippers have been a team which we've seen and we've been like, they can be good for a long time. When they miss the playoffs, it's, oh, their stars are hurt. When they go and they make the playoffs and they lose early, it's, oh, they got hurt during. And honestly, we could really see that even if the Clippers had tried for centuries to win a championship, it's never been, that successful, and they've never really been that successful. So what I really want to say is that now the Clippers seem legit. The biggest reason why I think this has happened is because of the fact that they've finally gotten a recipe that works. We've seen people like Russell Westbrook just become an amazing defensive player. We've seen guys like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard shoot almost 43% from three and be able to almost always have some good production, even if it's on the defensive end. We've also seen the entire team focus their energy defensively. As Kawhi Leonard is back on his feet playing some of the Kawhi Leonard defense that we could come to expect, Russell Westbrook looks like a defensive player of the year candidate with how good he is at perimeter defending. And Paul George can always, lace him up and guard somebody pretty well. And I believe that these have become the success story of the Clippers. They were patient, they were smart, and they did it. And I believe that it pays off when you do that. They've spent the last 3 years trying to build around their stars. They've been loyal to their players. Meanwhile, also always risking themselves enough to the point where they finally achieved a level that has been good. I believe that this is exactly how you should do a rebuild into a contender, because honestly, I'm seeing other teams, like the ones I talked about yesterday, the Suns, or like the Lakers, which are having big trouble right now, and it's because they didn't do it right. Rebuilds are supposed to be with patience. They're supposed to be done with time. And I think that both of those teams, if they would have started sooner, then those teams could have probably had the level of team that the Clippers have right now. Now, will the Clippers win the championship? This is really the big question, as we don't know who's gonna, really be on top. For the East, most people think about the Celtics. A lot of people think the Bucks too. and some people may think the 76ers or the no, just the 76ers or the Miami Heat. You know, I feel like those are the only five teams that actually get real considerations. Well, the four teams that get real consideration, and the wild card team, obviously. So with those, right, the Celtics are the most likely. The Bucks are also the most likely. The 76ers are pretty good, and Miami's also, capable of it. But them doing it again would be spectacular. On the other side, on the West, their four teams are the Nuggets, obviously the Timberwolves, right, the Clippers, and the OKC Thunder. Right now, obviously, these are probably the four teams which have the most, successful season so far, and that actually look like they could do something deeper into the season. Now, I am not going to mention the Kings or the Mavericks because I do not feel like they're good enough to be put in this category. The reason why is because, let's say, the Mavericks, even though they're good, them getting to the finals would really rely on Luka, because even though we don't see it, this team is still heavily dependent on Luka Doncic. And with a team like the Kings, I feel like them having the roster that they have and going through the roster changes that they did, I believe that they have to figure themselves out before we can start speaking about them as championship contenders. So, in my opinion, I do believe that there is a possibility, right, for the Clippers to make it to the finals. And honestly, that to me is beautiful because right now they look experienced, they look good, the offense looks amazing, and I do believe that as long as their defense is good enough to stop some players, I don't see who can stop them, right? Because I imagine in a playoff setting, they have defenders in the 1 through 5, which can come out at any point of the game. You have PJ Tucker, Ivica Zubac, you have Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Kawhi. You have defenders. You have defenders. Then you have offensive players, and you have a system that works. And finally, you have other types of advantages which come with the fact that first you have a coach which has won a championship before and actually has done it in the playoffs before. Obviously, he did it with LeBron, so it's kind of, as we know, LeBron's teams are LeBron's teams, but we do have to appreciate a coach that has won a championship before, and really looking at it from that perspective, we could see, honestly, this team and this organization might win it all this season, just purely predicated on the roster that they've built. So, when it comes to this roster for the Clippers, and when it comes to what they're doing this season, the real question for the Clippers this season is this sustainable? We know that you guys are good. We know that you guys can play. And we know that everything that you guys are doing right now is something that is possible and that it's not hard to do. Now, the problem is when we take this information and when we synthesize so this is possible, you guys can do this, and it's something that it is really good for your franchise, but can you sustain it in the playoffs when teams are going to be targeting you for the rest of the regular season with fatigue and with injury that may come up, and overall in the next maybe few months, 2 to 3 months, can you go completely unscathed and not fall a victim to some type of cause that makes this team fall apart. And if the answer is yes, that they can stay the way that they are right now, then the Clippers might be champions.